right, well, you all have been waiting. And just so you know, I do plan on doing reviews for the episodes, but I've already recorded like 12 other videos today. I haven't been recording a lot due to the holidays and taking breaks, so I don't want to overdo it. But the Best Man content, you're going to get a lot of it. Because yesterday I finished up binging the entire series, 8 episodes in one sitting. Yeah, I did watch the first several episodes before, but there were like breaks in between them, so I decided episode 1 through episode 8, I watched every single episode. And this video itself is just me giving my impressions on the series itself. Let me just say, I loved it. It felt like the blinders have been taking off my eyes because I've just been consuming nonstop Tyler Perry content for so long. To actually watch something else for a change was such a breath of fresh air. Seriously. But it wasn't until, it was maybe 2014 when I watched The Best Man, the first movie, for the first time as an adult. Up until that point, I'd only watched bits and pieces, growing up, going to my aunt's house, or, there's a family function and there's a movie on the background, on the TV in the background. I watched a couple bits and pieces here and there. But in terms of fully watching the film as an adult, yeah, Best Man was great. Actually, it was the double DVD set I bought. It was either DVD or Blu-ray. It's in a box somewhere, but it was when the holiday came out. What was that? 2013, right? The Best Man holiday. So, yeah, it was either early 20... No, it was 2014 when I watched the movie. Yeah, I watched both movies back to back, and I loved them. This series, in my opinion, captured the essence of these characters in the franchise. It felt like the cast, despite it being like decades in between a decade or so in between each project, it felt flawless in how they fell back into their characters. It really did. Needless to say, Quentin Terrence Howard stole the show for me. Yeah, look, all the characters are great, but he had those comedic, sarcastic moments, that's what made the first 2 episodes so off-putting, because Terrence Howard has had a reputation of questionable behavior and dialogue when he does interviews, and so to actually see that kind of persona on Quentin with the the sage and all this other stuff, it just kind of felt out there. So it felt like, okay, are they referencing Terrence Howard in real life or what? But then we got the classic Quentin as the series went on. But I just felt like it just goes to show you that if you take your time, write good material, 8 to 10 episodes of one show is better than 75 to 100 episodes of mediocre TV. Now, I don't want to make this video to bash on Tyler Perry content, but The Best Man, the final chapters, so good. I was conflicted, maybe because I just watched the show and it's fresh, but part of me felt like if I were to rank my favorite Tyler Perry show from last year, being Zatima Season 1, and compared it to The Best Man, the final chapters, it wouldn't be fair. Sure, both shows 8 to 10 episodes. Zatima was 10, Best Man was 8. But I'm like, ooh, but it does have 2 movies behind it. But then again, you got to think about it. Zach and Fatima have seasons 2, 3, 4, and half of 5. So that's like 3.5 seasons of Sisters, which is close to like 70 so episodes. No, about 7, closer to 80 episodes. So I think that 80 episodes of TV could equate to like 2 movies of a franchise. I think The Best Man is better than Zatima. That I know is, but then again, it is a Tyler Perry show versus a well-established cast of characters. But the thing about it is, what make The Best Man? Because actually, I was talking with somebody. They said The Best Man is the original Bruh done right, and I'm like, well, I can't argue with you there. I can't argue with you there. What sets this apart from the likes of a bruh, or let's just say sisters, because that's the real comparison here. In Sisters, Zach and Fatima have taken over the show, and the other characters just don't do anything. They're in the same repetitive ruts they've always been in. The Best Man, we see these characters evolve and change. Some of them might not change, but they solidify themselves in who they are. But when I watched The Best Man Holiday, Shelby went from housewife to, like, political commentator. Jordan eventually realized, making it to the top means nothing. It's like you got to put yourself first. You need to work on self-care. Why kill yourself for a job that's going to replace you? What's that quote that's always floating around the internet? Don't work yourself to death on a job that will replace you, or put out an ad for your replacement before your obituary is even written, And then from there, you have Harper realizing his behavior played a role in ruining his marriage. And, and the list goes on. I can go on and on about this. But I do feel like it's just seeing these characters evolve definitely made the show worth watching. Like, part of me started, it's like, I got to get this done now. But then as I kept on watching, I was like, I want more. It didn't feel like a chore to get through each episode. It's like, okay, I got to flip the page to see what the next chapter of the book's going to be. They had a great way of doing it where I think the series started in like 2015, and then you had mini montages at the beginning of a couple of episodes to show what happened throughout the years. Like, okay, here's what happened in 2017, and then we go all the way to 2020, then 2022, and then of course the ending of the series took place in 2024. So it just really did a good job of time jumping, which is something Tyler Perry should implement in his shows, like the whole baby mama, baby daddy drama, this kind of stuff. Tyler, do these montages. Shit, I'd love it. You could just explain what happened in, like, a couple of sentences, or we could just see what's going on. But I love that kind of stuff if that happened. But I just feel like this show just did a great job. The acting was great. The camera work, the camera angles was phenomenal. It just felt like a movie, not just a series. And it did say, if this was the final send-off, fine. It was great. Do I want more? Hell yeah, because I do feel like there's more stories to tell with the characters. And it's kind of ironic because if I remember correctly, there was buzz about a third movie years ago, but apparently they couldn't find funding or whatever. So then they did the series, which in my opinion, I actually like that. I'm sure this would have worked as a film, but I think that kind of like, I was actually rewatching Belle Biv DeVoe doing an interview on The Breakfast Club. This was right around the time when the New Edition story first came out. They said a few years ago, we had a deal to do a movie, but it was only going to be a couple hours, and Bobby didn't want to sign it. But because he didn't sign, years down the road, we got 3 nights with BET, so everything worked out for the better. I feel like the same thing could be applied here, that them not getting funding for a Best Man, final movie was the best thing that happened, because as a result, we got 8 episodes in a mini series to close out the characters, and I love it. Like I said, I feel like a movie would have been great, but this series definitely was the best thing because, of the age of streaming entertainment, hashtags and whatnot, and the fact that it blew up. I really can't wait to see what the numbers are for this series, because this was addicting as hell and I want more. I mean, Quentin and Shelby, I tweeted out last night, it's like, can we talk about how the most unlikely couple turned out to be the happiest out of all the characters? And some people were like, yo, are we watching the same show? What do you mean unlikely couples? Like, you could tell from the first movie they had chemistry. No. It's not that I didn't think they wouldn't get together. It's just that when you look at from the beginning to where they are now, it's like, out of all the couples on the show, who would have thought these two would have been the happiest? Like, they were the Kyle Barker, Maxine Shaw of the series. It's like, they had chemistry. They were, they had on and off again flings, but at the same time, there was some toxic, behavior between the two. But when they put aside their egos, their prides and whatnot and came together, well, hell, look at them. They're the happiest out of everybody. What? Harper and Jordan got a divorce. I mean, Harper and Robin got a divorce. Jordan's still single. Lance, of course, his wife tragically died, but he is able to find love again with Jasmine. Candace and Julian, they're good, but they still have their own trials and tribulations. But that's, that comes with the territory. But when you look at all the couples, I think Shelby and Quentin actually come out on top. So I do feel like this series did bring about a lot of questions of, career versus family. What happens when you devote too much time to your career, but not enough time, love, and attention to your wife and kids? It's just, and then I think, I love the montages because they wove in like the pandemic, Black Lives Matter, Black people versus Karens. Just so much great material just sprinkled into the show where it felt like, like the Karen moment. I think it was like episode 4 or 5 when Quentin at the beginning of the episode, him and his daughters dealt with a Karen over a taxi. And then at the end of the episode, we saw him encounter this woman again, but he decided to ignore her as opposed to causing a scene because in his head, he went through various ways confrontation could go down. But then he learned to turn that rage into a hobby, aka MMA fighting, which I thought was amazing because we saw growth from the character. I ain't gonna lie, he was a bit insufferable during the first couple episodes involving, being jealous of Harper because he was the best man. But then after that, you really felt for the character because he growed. I do feel like Candace and the whole professor thing, the sexual assault, that kind of felt swept under the rug. I don't really feel like it had the impact I thought it would have. Like it happened. We saw how it affected her. Her and Julian talked about it, but then we really don't get a conclusion to it. We just know that eventually she was on a magazine of like, I spoke up or something like that, women who came forward, but we didn't really see the payoff of that. So yeah, other than that, I really loved it. Then of course I'm doing a separate video where I'll talk about, Harper and Jordan, like, who there was a meme or something floating around like the actual villain versus the show villain. So I wanted to give my 2 cents on that, but let me just say this much. The Best Man, the final chapters, I loved it. I loved it. Acting was great. I already went over the list of things. Not much to say on the whole LJ thing because, I don't really got much to say about that. I did feel like it was an interesting storyline for Lance to, go through. I thought his main thing would be finding life and love after Mia, and he did, but then you had the LJ thing of him being non-binary and Lance dealing with that. And, the whole Christianity aspect of, we're supposed to love everybody, but how we love people, but then how we say we love God and love everyone, but then condemn those who do not conform to the same sexuality, orientations as the Bible says. I'm not touching that since, number 1, I ain't got kids. Number 2, I'm not a part of that community. And number 3, I don't want to commentate on how people raise their kids if they ain't mine. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. But yeah, I felt like this was, I thought that at least that storyline was kind of tastefully done compared to, let's say, how Tyler Perry would write it. I will say that much. So yeah. All right, well, that's really all I got to say because, like I said, I don't want to overstress my voice. I can already feel it kind of waning right now because I had a bunch of Sisters content to get out of the way first. But yeah, expect Best Man content throughout the entire week. I got a lot I got to say. I'm probably going to do a live stream where I'm going to talk about the show as well. I really love the series. That's really it. I just loved it. It was really good. I could see myself watching certain episodes. Probably one that really got me choked up was the moment where Quentin, confronted his father because we don't really know what he was going through. Like, was it dementia or Alzheimer's or something? It was mentioned that he became very forgetful, messing up the payroll, which caused, people to, like, I guess, quit their jobs because they weren't getting paid. So he was living, like, in a pigsty. So, when Quentin finally, stood up to his father and just said, look, I'm going to take care of you and this and that. That was really emotional. And I know, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Terrence Howard say he was retiring from acting a couple of times? And watching this scene, I'm like, yo, don't know. Come on, keep acting. Or at least do more Best Man stuff. I'm here for that. All right, well, thanks so much for tuning in. Like I said, I really can't wait to explore the show in more detail in various videos. And with that being said, I will catch you all in the next one.